Hi, this is Brent, and I just wanted to mention that I have a date coming up on October 1st in San Francisco at the Punchline Comedy Club. So just Google Punchline Comedy Club, San Francisco, Brent Weinbach, and you should be able to find tickets or, go to any of my social media uh, profiles and you'll find some links there. So again, that's October 1st. That's a Wednesday night, and it's a 7:30 show in San Francisco. Um, this episode of the Brent Weinbach podcast, I have talked to the band Faun Fables. Is one of my favorite bands. It's Don McCarthy and Nils Frykdahl, and I just wanted to give a heads up that they live in an area where their internet connection is spotty. And so there are a handful of portions of this episode where they get pretty choppy and it's hard to hear what they're saying. But just try to bear with it. Even if you don't hear every word they say during those moments, you can still get the gist of what they're saying. And it doesn't happen all the way through, but you will hear it from time to time. And the internet connection they had also created a bit of a delay at times. So, just bear with that as well. That, I might, that it kind of throws off the timing a little bit. About, I might ask a question and there's a pause for maybe 3 seconds or so, and then they hear it. But that kind of varies from time to time too. So anyway, all that to say, I hope it's not too much of a deterrent from listening to the episode. But I think for the most part, you'll be able to get a good listen out of it. I also wanted to mention on their behalf, they're doing a show in Los Angeles at Zebulon on November 9th. That they wanted to mention that we didn't mention it during the main episode. Wanted to mention it now. And but they're touring all over the place. So check their dates. They're all over the United States and also Europe as well. So check them out. They're a great band. And let's, I guess, go ahead and start the episode. I'll see you on the other side after the theme song. Welcome to the Brent Weinbach podcast. My name is Brent Weinbach, and I'm here with the band Faun Fables. That's Don McCarthy and Nils Frykdahl. Thank you for being here. Faun,
Hello.
Hi, yeah, Faun Fables is it's one of my favorite bands. I first discovered you guys in 2002. It was have I told you this before? This where I first became aware of
I
Faun
don't think
Fables.
so. No, no.
It was there was a Buto. It was Inkboat, an Inkboat Buto performance. Cockroach was sort of I guess an adaptation of Kafka's Metamorphosis or something like that, and it was a really cool show, and it was a full show, and we had a great time watching that show, and then my friend and I who I was with we were about to leave, and then there was this announcement made that said, "Oh, the band Faun Fables is going to be performing in the kind of lobby area of the theater," and we said, "Oh, let's check out a song or so." And we didn't really have, we didn't think we were going to stay for that long, but we ended up staying the whole time, and we were just totally enthralled by what we saw. And later that week, I went to Amoeba Music and got the Mother Twilight album, and I got another copy for my sister, and yeah, and then I just started going to your shows all the time after that. A lot of them being at the Starry Plow. Yeah. But anyway, so
Right. Yeah. Okay.
that's how that's it.
That's
Sorry.
awesome.
But that was now was that 2002? That was that earlier on and when you started collaborating because it was just Dawn before that or what?
Well, I moved to, I guess I moved to California I'd been living in New York City Me and Nils had met each other actually at Burning Man Festival. The one time I
Oh,
went in
really?
1996, I think that one of the two times Idiot Flesh went and played. And yeah, I
Oh,
was totally blown away by Idiot Flesh, and Charming Hostess played as well. Um, and so they came to New York about a year and a half later. So Charming Hostess did about a week of shows, and I went to those shows, and we just started hanging out, talking. We couldn't stop talking. And I moved to California. Either he was going to move to New York City or I was going to move to California. And I visited him, and he took me to the up into the hills and just all the nature there with the urban cultural environment. That was the selling point for me. So I moved, and yeah, I guess that was 1999 officially, or
yeah,
was or
yeah,
end of 1998. So
yeah.
by the time 2002 was happening, yeah, we kind of hit the ground running with collaborating with each other, because that's how we met each other, was through our music, our art, and we just started kind of immediately collaborating. I think we both felt there were things that we could learn from each other, and we're kind of coming from different sides of the, I don't know, the coin, the
Yeah. And
the
what do you mean by
vast.
that? I mean, I know that. I mean, does his other projects have been kind of. I mean, I don't know, maybe sonically heavier in a way, or metally. I guess more metal. And was that? I mean, was is that what you mean? Is that he was kind of bringing that to Faun Fables, and then you were bringing
Yeah,
something more folky, I guess, or
right. And when I yeah, in during that week of Charming Hostess in New York at the kind of Christmas time of '97, when I heard and the night before we were supposed to leave and fly out the next day, I at my friend's house I put on and uh, transparent. It was just acoustic guitar and Dawn singing, and I was so blown away by it. The direct emotional impact of it to me was so far removed from what I was doing at the time musically
sorry,
that I had ever done.
where did you get the recording, or where did you get the album?
Well, from Dawn gave me when
Don
we were
gave it to
in.
you. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she came to the shows. We were, yeah, talking and talking. She gave me the tape, but I hadn't heard the tape until the night before I was supposed to leave. And I heard that tape, and I was absolutely, I was in tears. I rewound
Oh
it and
wow.
listened to it again, and I was just like, "Whoa, I have something to learn here musically." I mean, my music was, you know, it was all about this, like I didn't have a single song that I could play around a campfire, for instance, or even, I couldn't pick up a guitar and sing any songs really. All my music, my parts for Idiot Flesh were like, and it would make no sense
It was more,
outside of the
I guess, more
context
rhythm.
of
It was
this.
more rhythm based, would you say? And
Yeah, it was
he
just
was doing.
interlocking, progressive metal. It was all thoroughly composed, you know, intricate little things. And with, I mean, certainly I conceived of it as having an emotional basis somewhere in there. But hearing Dawn's music, it just hit me very directly. The voice, the sound, and, I realized what you could do is something very, very different with songs than, yeah, and that I needed to learn from that. So right away, I thought, well, yeah, I've got to be involved
Well,
in
okay,
this.
take it back even further. I mean, Don, where did you develop your style? And I mean, what influenced you? What were you like in high school? What kind of
Oh,
clothes did you wear?
yeah, I was I'm pretty new wave punk rock actually.
Oh,
I was
okay.
young, and I was one of the young kids at the Black Flag concert that came through. You can't even call it a concert, a show at a little hole in the wall place in Spokane, Washington, where I grew up, and um,
Oh, so you were not it wasn't folk music, it wasn't singer-songwriter stuff that was a big part of your life when you were
uh,
younger. It was
no, no,
you were
definitely not.
yeah.
But I also I had older siblings that were really into music, were musicians. My oldest sister's a a drummer. My one brother, who's the oldest of the siblings, he's like a genius rock guitarist, piano, jazz, classical. He can play anything on the piano. So there was a lot of music going on in the house, and a lot of psychedelic music, classic rock. And then my parents, they both were piano players, and my mom was playing a lot of like Debussy and Bartok, Chopin. So that was the stuff I remember as a child, like really being haunted by. And then I got into other things, honestly, before I came around to wanting to really sing. I always could sing, like even as like a little kid, and I would imitate things effortlessly. It was just fun, it was a lot of fun. And I was more into illustration. I was into dance. I was into theater and singing. I would sing with my sister's bands when I would visit her in, when she had moved out of the house and stuff. So, and yeah, so that's when I was in my teen years. I was wearing like like old like trench coats and little sweaters, and wearing big boots, and had really thickly drawn on eyebrows,
You kind
and
of
then
had a sort of a goth kind of look or something.
I did goth, and I tried to do punk rock too, but for some reason never took on the total like shaving of the hair. My sister did a little more, so me and my younger sister, so we were like the young kids at the all ages, punk shows, and just loved the alternative culture of it, and the expressiveness of it, like so many youth do. Like it's perfect, for youth, but always like, I mean, grew up on Led Zeppelin, Heart,
Hmm.
Pink Floyd, and then hearing like Ema Sumac and Debussy and Bartok, and so it was like there was a total, and Carl Orff, Carmina Burana, like that. My dad used to like crank that in the living room, and so, and we all did piano as we were little kids, and some continued with it, and others like myself didn't really continue with it. But so all of that then was just kind of in the mix, and then as I started like really kind of getting more, hearing more of my own voice coming out, and feeling like my muse was really pointing towards singing. That was when all those different influences started coming to me, and I didn't really ever do like a punk band. I had fun making just like some of the early stuff with my sister's bands. There was a lot of just like jamming in people's basements, and like just having fun, just improvising. And but when the music that I was more drawn
I'm
to
sorry, I just have
make.
to point out that during that age, she was known as microphone mouth.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
Just the volume,
Oh, okay, okay,
Well,
okay.
early
Oh,
on I could.
oh, you mean
This is like,
it was like you had a microphone, even though you didn't have a microphone. It sounded like you had a
right.
microphone. Got
Yeah,
it.
I was
Okay.
I was known as being pretty loud in the house, like as a kid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But this is further past that. So then I had moved to New York
sorry.
City. I was going to be studying illustration, and wanted
Oh.
to do sequential art, children's books, fantastical stuff. I had a whole like kind of granola girl period. You know, just yeah, I wore the robes, then grew everything out, and just was very, was kind of walking around, seeing visions of, fairies and
Hmm.
everything everywhere. And that was wonderful. But so, but what was I just saying? I think I just
Well,
got lost.
you were going to go to study illustration, and
Yeah,
then
so I moved to New York, and my sister, who whose bands I'd sung with, we had started a little band in Madison, Wisconsin. Moved, so we kind of continued our band, and
was that
um,
band
that's
more
just
kind of was that band more fairy based and stuff, or was it was
it
that
was it was kind of a fun, rollicking, kind of a bit like, I'd say, like The Residents, just
okay?
kind of abstract and kind of anything goes and out
Mhm.
there. And I did a lot of physical, movement, um, and somewhere in the midst of all that, I started just hearing more of a voice, like a desire to sing more. Like, I think when I look back to it, I think really the piano music my parents were playing as well, like that was the main thing that was very very haunting to me. Like it's kind of like I started going to the like the core of what really had called to me like in childhood, the melodies, and started kind of hearing melodies, and but didn't the lyrics didn't come till later. So then I was just improvising melodies and started my first bands, my own bands in New York, and put an ad in the Village Voice, and just kind of
Do you know what it was
started
that made
music.
you turn towards kind of a woodsy kind of sound in a way, or something that feels, I don't know, foresty to me at least? Do you know what kind of pushed you in that direction, you think?
Yeah, well, I think I had equal parts in me the desire to, like as a teenager, I wasn't sure how it was all going to unfold, but as I was getting into my later teens, like equal parts of me, I either wanted to, you know, go run off with it like a pack of wolves and like run with a pack of wolves and just become natives. Like I just wanted to like I just been haunted by like nature, and of course, grew up hearing, Tolkien and um, you know, C.S. Lewis, and just things that like all you need is a little bit if you're kind of inclined to certain things, and in your fabric, then you get a little bit of that in childhood, and it just really you take off into that compiled with the impressionistic, classical music. And so either I was gonna go run off with a pack of wolves, or I was gonna go to New York City or London, or just be in the textury, just art, crazy community, because I felt there's like equal parts for me with that. So my sister, who I'd been in, done some music with since I was a kid, just playing with her, and um, she moved to New York, and she invited me to follow along. So I did, and yeah, that's. But in the midst of all of that, there was always like, well, but at some point I'm going to get back to the nature stuff more. I'm going to get back to the woods and I
Hmm.
think it just came to me. It was just in there.
Uh-huh. It kind of just, as you just got older or became an adult, more of an adult, you got back to your roots as a child in a way, right? Or something.
Definitely. I think initially it started with a kind of a metaphysical feeling, like kind of almost like a cult, like more abstracted and a little
Hmm.
bit like haunted, troubled, ghost-like. And then that started taking more shape into like celestial, earth elemental kind of earth kind of feeling. Then it kind of got more like rooted in. I think it got less spooked and you know
What now?
more corporeal.
Now, what about Niels? I mean, I mean, what was your? I mean, well, actually, I'm kind of curious about this with both of you. But were your, I mean, were your parents artistic people? Are they, I mean, what was it like for you younger? Niels. I mean, what were you like in high school? How did you dress? What did you listen to?
Well, I was very much like a rocker in high school and was playing guitar and hanging out with other people who were starting up, almost starting up bands, starting up sort of halfway bands.
And when you say rocker,
Um,
what do you mean rocker? I mean, what kind of rock?
like metal, but this would have been, sort of uh to whatever, and punk, we were my in Oakland. It was a relatively small group of people who were into who were into that music. So like metalheads and punks hung out together. There wasn't the sort of famous sort of divisions between those two camps that I heard about going on elsewhere. I thought, oh, how funny. I always thought they were kind of the same, But
Yeah.
you know, but I had grown up with a wide range of music. My folks were into more like jazz, and had discovered like free jazz stuff in my dad's record collection, and classical music. Early on had discovered the Bartok string quartets. So like Dawn had this sort of early 20th century classical music and the sort of crunchy, dense, harmony in that stuff, but it's very much based in folk melodies. And then, of course, Stravinsky, Rite of Spring. The roots of all that stuff is this sort of Eastern European folk music, translated into this early 20th century symphonic music. So we used to put on, Bartok string quartets, rock out to that. Found the Messiaen organ music, like pretty young. My brother and I would put on, and I don't know if you know Messiaen organ music, but it is like
That's some of the earliest electronic
it's
music too, actually. Yeah.
well, yeah, Messiaen's. I mean, the organ is kind of a can function as an electronic music instrument, but it's very sort of apocalyptic, like crushing, ultimate sort of spooky organist sound, and that's how we heard it. We put it on at Halloween time and just like, like yeah.
Hmm.
So definitely had other influences other than sort of the rock at the time. Would go and see Miles Davis and the Art Ensemble of Chicago and like the craziest jazz. I loved the Coltrane free jazz, Ornette Coleman's free jazz stuff at that time. The wall of sound was really, whatever was really extreme. I had a tape of Diamanda Galas that I didn't know was Diamanda Galas because I had taped it off of Calex, like almost the entire Litanies of Satan recording, which is like her first album. It's pretty extreme. And I had just like came in partway through it and then had it on cassette and would play that for my friends. Like, so it's that teenage thing of trying to seek out the most extreme thing. And then like Metallica and Slayer and, upping the ante on the velocity,
What
year by year, that music was
what was your
developing.
what was your hairstyle like? Did you have shaved things and did you have
No,
spikes and things
no,
like that? Or-
I had long hair.
oh,
I
long
had
hair.
spikes. I had spikes and long shaggy hair.
I see.
Not in some ways not entirely different from the way I dress now. Sleeveless metal shirts, spikes and long hair,
Uh-huh.
and ripped up jeans with writing and drawing all over my clothes. You know,
Uh-huh.
or,
I drew on my clothes too.
yeah. So we, you know,
And what did you and then but then you ended up studying music at UC Berkeley, is that right?
yeah. Hmm.
And you had
Yeah,
been
sort of pursuing that classical music thing,
and flute was your instrument.
waiting to get flute. And well, by then guitar UC
Initially
Berkeley was
flute.
not flute was my instrument growing up, and then guitar when I was a teenager as the rock music kicked in. But UC Berkeley was not really a performance school in the music department. You didn't have to do very much performance, and there wasn't much of an emphasis on the instrumental playing. So it was more theory, composition, history. You could focus on different things. I could have probably done more playing based stuff, but it was really all about the composition. And for me, at the time, was all about the 20th century composition. I was not really a fan of classical music per se. Not, don't have anything against it, but my sort of interest in that music starts with Rite of Spring, kind of, and the Bartok string quartets. Like and then on up to the present. So I was really, I had to at UC Berkeley. I had taken an African drumming class there,
Was
which I
wait,
thought, oh,
did CK do that?
CK Latsevko, yeah.
I took the same class. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That really turned me on. That's probably the single most influential thing that in terms of what I have used consistently and repeatedly throughout my music ever since
Did they do that one
is
song?
what I got
Were they doing that one song
concept
that
of polyrhythm.
right, yeah. Did they do that one song Africa nebo ose 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 aye. Were they doing that one?
I don't know.
Oh,
It's possible.
uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember doing a lot of songs. I just remember like getting the principle of it in terms of the sort of the math of it and realizing, this could be extended to other numbers. And I was really excited about that. I was like, wait a minute, what about? And so pretty early on, like in Idiot Flesh, you start to hear, the five and three instead of, four and three together. What about five and three? What about seven? And, so I just started like trying to sort of work out how it could be applied to other things and could be applied to music that sounds like rock music. And so I'm still doing that.
Sometimes you play this gigantic flute sometimes in the live shows. Oh, you probably play them on the recordings too, but I mean, what's up with this big flute? Is that hard to play? I mean, is the bigger the flute, is it the harder to deal with, or what?
No, it's no that flute. If someone is a player of like Western classical flute with that style of embouchure blowing across, like a silver flute, then it's easy to play that big thing because it has the same type of embouchure, same kind of thing that you blow across. So it's not hard to play, and it's really satisfying because it's low, and flutes are not very low generally. So
Yeah.
that was a
Um,
gift from Cornelius Boots and a group of people, and I was yeah,
uh,
it's really fun to play it.
is that flute, would that flute be considered a baritone flute or something, or a bass flute?
Maybe something like that. Yeah, baritone flute. The person who made it called it like a staff flute, and
Mm.
he also made them with like little rubber caps on the end. You could take them around as a walking staff,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know.
yeah. Oh, wow.
That's
Now, but it must be a little harder to get your fingers around, kind of the
Yeah,
length of it and everything, right? I mean,
that's the hard part of it is the reach.
yeah.
You're not over here and then reaching with your hand. So after about 5 or 6 minutes, the neck, cramps start kicking in because you have to do this weird angle. And
Mm.
so Cornelius, who instigated that, me playing that flute, also has a couple of them, and we would get together and do these, just face each other and do because it's all about the spitting overtone. You can do the low notes, but then you can do all those kind of high notes like they do in I think New Zealand, like tribal New Guinea. They have a similar thing, just like long tubes that they play in upper overtones. And so we would just do that, just jam out on it. But then, you'd be out of breath and you'd have to like let your neck relax after
Sure.
about 5 or 6 minutes.
Now, when you guys, met, did you think, was it a musical connection first, or was it a romantic connection I mean, like, how did that evolve? That you became romantic partners but then also music partners. I mean, what came first, or was it all together at the same time, or what happened there?
A little bit all together at the same time, but I guess I feel like I first saw like Charming Hostess, and then Idiot Flesh saw you on the stage before you saw me with the Bindlestiff Family Circus. I was just out there at Burning Man with these friends that had a circus sideshow that I had been doing some stuff with in New York, and so it kind of got me out there. Um, and um, just hitting a drum in a circle and doing my yodeling and my throat getting very dry. So I know
I was
artistically,
impressed.
so I know that artistically, I was struck, transformed. I mean, seeing Special Idiot Flesh was just one of these like I didn't connect it to Charming Hostess initially because you guys were fully costumed differently, and I don't know what the heck. I heard y'all on the stage on the loud sound system. This is when Burning Man used to have like a big presentational, stage, and there would be audience, um, and so before I ever saw what you guys were doing, I heard what you were doing, and I just started running to the main stage. Like, oh my god, I have to, and it was getting changed for the night desert air that gets very cold there. So I'm, changing quickly in my tent, like what's going on at the main stage? I got to see what's going on. And I just like ran to the main stage, and then their lights, everything. It was just kind
You were
of
doing the
really
puppet show at
you'd
that
been doing
point.
the puppet show, and your live the music part was just starting, and I remember just having this like it was like an altered state experience, just like seeing like what's happening here? What are these people? Um, and I just wanted to understand how they were doing what they were doing. I had a band at that point. I had already started shaping my own band in New York, and just kind of wanted like guidance with like how are they doing what they're doing? Um,
How did you
anyway,
hone
so
in
yes, there
on
was
Nils? Yeah.
yeah. I the next day, well, the turns out they were camped not too far where the circus was camped, where I was camped, and so. the next day, I just was determined to find their encampment and just tell them just how amazing I thought the show was and just say hi. And um, so I mean, after their show, I think I told Gene that it was like fucking amazing, and but I didn't see anyone else from the show. So that next day, then I went there, and um, and before I could even compliment their show, Nils complimented seeing me yodeling. I was like, "Oh, some great yodeling you're doing there." So it's kind of a connection. And then later there was I don't remember how that worked out. I think we just all like somehow through the day we kind of kept all running into each other, and I just ended up kind of hanging out with them, running around. There's a whole pack of them and some neighborhood kids they had brought along, and it was just a really warm and friendly and so fun, group of people to be with. Um, and yeah, so that was kind of the beginning of that. And then a few days later, they do the main burn, of the big straw man, and so that's like everyone gathers there, and big crowd, and me and Nils literally like ran into each other in the crowd, and we were both kind of like, well, doing singing and supposed to be kind of like a part of a procession. And
It's almost like that scene in the movie where like you're looking two different directions, like, boom.
Uh-huh.
Oh, hey, it's you. Yeah.
And I had an ex that was there that I was really trying to forget about and it's like still thinking about it too much. And I thought, gosh, I'm going to go and meet someone else. There's like 10,000 people here, darn it all. I'm going to meet someone else. And immediately this little voice in my head was like, oh, is this who I'm here to meet?
Oh, what, really?
That guy, and we just kind of we're just kind of being playful and making little sounds. And I don't think we even spoke that much. We just kind of like, we knew who each other was because we'd all hung out in a bigger group. And yeah,
Wait,
that was kind of
I'm
that
sorry,
was
you were just making sounds? What do you mean? What kind of sounds?
we had been we had both
I mean,
it was like
just
the
kind
big group and everyone coming together like, "Whoa, da, da, da," for the burning of the
Oh, okay.
man. So already, and I was supposed to be a part of this procession with like kind of doing my yodeling, and so it was just a very spirited moment of the crowd and everyone kind of hooting and hollering, and we just kind of ran into each other, and we just looked at each other for a while, and then just I feel like we just mostly made like sounds, and I don't even know if we even said much to each other, but I remember just kind of seeing him, and it was just this moment of like, oh gosh, wow, that's what, geez, you're amazing. What a creature you are. What an amazing human you are. I don't know. Okay. And we both said later that moment that really was really haunting. Like we couldn't forget that, and how it was like it wasn't like we were recognizing someone we used to know, but it was like we were seeing a future. Like we were saying like, there's someone who we should know. We should know, or so I don't.
Yeah, it was
Um,
a strange feeling of, you know, of like deja vu or just remembering something, but it's like, wait, no, I know I hadn't met her before, but it was like remembering your own future, like and then given what has happened since then, it was like, I look back, I was like, oh right, well of course, time is not linear, it's not, and
Well,
it
I
was
mean,
just
okay, so
the immensity of the time that we spent, was
so
already there somewhere.
it was at first a kind of a personal psychic connection or whatever. It was a personal and maybe even also
chemical.
romantic chemical connection. But then, since that came first, were you a little, I don't know, apprehensive or nervous about what it would be like to collaborate musically? And, did you think, oh, it might not, oh, I don't know if it will gel, now there's kind of some stakes here because I don't want to mess up the personal thing or what, or was there anything like that? Or did you think,
Well, interestingly, like
go ahead.
nothing happened at the Burning Man, and we didn't see each other for another year and a half.
Oh, wow.
And in New York, a year and a half later, I was out there with Charming Hostess. She came to the shows.
Because I had given a cassette of my band's like demo tape we made that had my voicemail on it, a voicemail for the band. And Dan Rathbun had called the voicemail saying,
Who
"Oh,
was in
we're,"
Idiot Flash, my bass
and also
player.
in Charming Hostess, and he at the time, and he said, "Yeah,
Treyhawk.
we're
I
gonna."
call him Treyhawk. Yeah, go ahead.
That's right, Tryhawk.
Exactly, yeah.
Treyhawk. He got the Treyhawk. Yeah.
At the time, right, right. It's true. For years, he had
We
that.
were kind of trying to hook Tryhawk and Dawn up at Burning Man. We thought, oh, this is a cool. He was always single at that point, and so I was there with my girlfriend, and the four of us were running around, and we kept ditching them, thinking. And in hindsight, I'm glad nothing happened because it would have been complicated later, you know.
Wow.
But
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
yeah,
But he called my voicemail and just said like, "Hey, Charming Hostess," told me about the shows, and so I was absolutely just I was sure to not miss those shows. And um, the very first show, I mean, like creative, like, just artistically, and I told everyone I knew, but you gotta see these musicians, these amazing bands. So went there with a friend, but anyways, just immediately upon seeing him when they were like unloading, setting up the stage, and it was just like a total whoosh. I mean that was it. I was like, okay, that's who I want. So that's the one for me. I don't know. It was like a whole like the bells were just ringing like, and I was thinking like if I felt like right away it was just this moment like I like for the long term. I'm thinking just like that's who I want to be with for the long term.
But did you guys think that? Did you know that you would have such great chemistry as musicians too
I think
around
that
this?
was all part of it, to be
Yeah.
honest, because I had had like a first, like a serious first, relationship already, and kind of knew that, and then had, kind of tried to date casually various people, and kind of knew that, I really wanted the all-in-one thing. Like I was like, I'm gonna need to have someone who's gonna be like a collaborator and a partner, you know, um,
Do you
and
guys
just there with me.
do you when you are
Because I
writing
didn't want to
song?
divide.
Right, you want it all in one. Did you when you do okay, so when you are writing songs together, do you ever have any clashes at all? Or I mean, or is it always just working out perfectly?
Oh yeah.
oh no, yeah, no, there's
No, we definitely no, yeah, no, it's we I mean it does flow quite well, I have to say. And after, trying to have bands and trying to collaborate and establish like, gosh, well this part of this song I'm writing, like, yeah, I really kind of want to hold on to this. I don't want to let that go. I realized how easy it was to collaborate with him. So that's definitely a big part of why it's been able to continue so long. We know how to hash it out with each other. If there's something I don't, and mostly I love what he contributes. Occasionally he'll kind of criticize or cancel out something that I'm wanting to keep to that's just kind of more kind of simplistic, like, I'll have to like remind them like, no, that really, I think it's just really okay to have this just be repetitive, and, and so we fight it out. I feel really comfortable like arguing stuff out with him.
musically, yeah.
Is
But there's not like a huge, we couldn't go this far. I don't think if we definitely, I definitely couldn't have gone this far if it was like, oh, this is a problem. Like we're kind of having some button heads here. Like it, you know,
is the gist of you guys having different approaches that Nils, you'll want to be more do something more complex, and you'll just want to keep things really simple. Don, I mean, is that the sort of I don't know, general reason there might be some sort of clashing?
I would say, yeah, in a
Mhm.
in a in a nutshell, you could probably like say that's a general shaping of it.
Mhm.
And for me, because it's like I'm coming at it with as a vocalist, it's like straight from the heart. And usually, I want something an atmosphere, and I'm fine with having. I trust sometimes like a song needs to be served just by the most simplistic and repetitive of things. And I think Nils, his ear is so attuned for complexity. I mean, my ears are attuned to that at this point as well. But I mean, he also, I think it's his delight to really switch things up, and he's not quite a fan of some more just like middle of the road music that I can also totally enjoy. So, and I'll have to kind of like, no, I think this is really how it has to kind of
Do you
be.
start with
But often he'll kind of say, "But here, I'll just do this other little thing," okay. But
Do you start with the do you start with melody
Just
first or
sort of
oh, go ahead.
yeah.
well, I was just going to say, sort of related to that sort of potential tension between
Mm,
our instinctual approaches, um, are we were talking about our initial meeting and the kind of like the vibe between us, where but still nothing had happened except just you know uh, talk until
not even talk,
but
just
it
noises.
right, and right. But then in New York, like just
Yeah.
at the shows, da, 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 da. But then it was really what the clincher for me was hearing the tape. And one of the things that that really affected me on there was her Old Village Churchyard rendition, this Appalachian song, where her left hand on the chord that she's playing never moves at all.
Mm.
Like it's a one chord song, her recording of it. And I was just like floored by it, and so just touched by it as an emotional. I was just amazed, like, wow, you can do a song and never even change the chord at all, just like the drone and then singing over a drone. And that, so I knew coming in to work with her that I had something to learn that had to do with, um, pairing away, and that there was that you could arrive at something different through pairing away elements. And so I've never forgotten that in a way in working with Donna, that her instinct for that can lead to something that is very effective. And so I you know, I will try to, when I feel my sort of instinct to like, yes, and let's put four more chords on the way to that chord. We could tell a little, harmonic story to remember, like, right, I try to maintain that lesson that I learned way back in '98.
So
And
when you
so,
guys
our initial coming to that's also what clinched the deal. That tape is what made me certain that we had to spend some time together. Prior to that, it was just like, wow, what an amazing person. But I don't, until it was musical, it was like, well, I'm not going to, she's not moving to California. I'm not moving to New York. We're busy,
Mhm.
until that. And then it was like, okay, well, something's going to have to happen with
Oh,
that little tape that she made it in. But
by the way, did you move to California then, Don, for Nils? I mean, is that what basically what happened? Or- Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I was feeling ready to shift from New York City, and my nerves were pretty shot. Just all the stimuli, living there, and yeah, and so I did want more nature, want less of an urban experience, and so I when I visited him in California and he took me to the hills and I saw all this nature that was there, but there's still some. I mean, actually, it felt it felt like so much more like a country kind of setting than New York City. And now when I go to the Bay Area, it felt, oh, yeah, this is like a big city. But coming
Hmm.
from New York City, it was like, oh, look at all the trees and all of course, those hills are just incredible. The
yeah, and
East Bay Hills.
they're
It's
still there, and I love those spots. I always grew up running up into the oaks and the redwoods and running around. There's some pretty wild spots in the Oakland Hills. You can have that feeling
Hmm.
yeah,
being out in
it's
the
true.
deep dark in the daytime wild woods where there's no people, right in the Oakland Hills. So it's
That's
pretty cool.
But
yeah.
definitely, yeah, coming along, it definitely swept me, whoosh, fully swept me out of the world that I was, living in. I was ready to go on this, you know,
Well,
new adventure.
sure. Now,
Yeah,
I just
just to
wanted to ask you
have a
briefly
move.
before we move into the next segment is what you okay? So you have three kids now, right? And how old are they?
The oldest is going to be 17
Wow.
next month.
Yeah.
Middle child is just turned 15,
Yeah.
and the youngest is going to be 12.
And they are kind of, it seems as though they're very naturally, I don't know, following in your footsteps here. I mean, has there ever been any rebellion at all with your kids, or are they just really just into what you guys are into? And I mean, they're kind of members of the band in some ways, or adjunct members at least, or something, right? I mean,
Yeah, we kind of had it open to all of them to join us, like coming out of the COVID pause. Just as we were going to get back onto the road for the first time, and it was kind of like the whole world was. It was just such an amazing, wonderful miracle that we all were able to go back out on the road and do shows again. They'd always had traveled with us, and enough time had passed for them, and during that time, 2 years, I get two summers we had to skip, that they had gotten older and able to do more, and we were kind of realizing how much they actually could do, and holding a tune, and um, just their sense of rhythm, everything. So it was a very natural thing that came out, and initially all three played with us that first 2022, and at the end of the summer, of course, we just toured all summer. We were like, oh my God, touring, ah. After not being able to do live shows. It was incredible summer, I think, and started doing live shows again. And I think we all had water in the, to the oasis in the desert. It was just, she was pretty tired with it. She's like, I'm tired of shows. She didn't
After
want
20 something shows in
to.
sure.
France.
Yeah. This is what. This is which one? This was which one? There was a little bit of cut up there. There was
Youngest, yeah, yeah,
the
the
youngest. Yeah.
youngest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since then, she's kind of our rebel. I mean, she sings around the house all the time. She loves like basically the same things we do, but she wants to find her own way. So she's pushing back but it's all good. We don't, we let her do what she wants, and all of them, even now. I mean, I'm as much as I love playing with our daughters, and I see it developing. They're playing more instruments in the you'll see in the show that we play in LA in November. Um, they're playing more with us. But I also like, they're also getting busier in their own stuff, and
Well, that's the question. Is are you? I mean, are they? Do they ever get into stuff musically that? I mean, I think you guys probably have your tastes are more, I don't know, subculture and I don't know, fringier. I mean, do they get in? I mean, as kids, are they into mainstream stuff that you don't like? And
I have
then
to say
No.
no,
they're not. It's pretty where we lucked out. But the thing
Not
that's
yet. I mean,
the thing that is giving them mainstream exposure is our oldest two. They're in high school,
yeah,
and they're in the dance department, and the dance department does plenty of
yeah.
mainstream pop and hip hop, and and so they're kind of getting they're getting a chance to kind of hear more of that, and yeah, I think,
Which I'm glad.
yeah,
I'm
I am
really
too.
glad they're
Yeah.
getting some exposure to that because they're not going to get it from us. And so I don't
They
want them
should
to
be a
be.
bit a part
I
of
mean,
their
they know
generation.
so much music. Like they have a big record collection, like a vinyl record collection, and they have access to all our music, and they listen to music. Oh, they love music, and they love music going back to the early 20th century. They love.
I will say that definitely they didn't get, what probably different from other kids is that they didn't really have access to mainstream culture through us until just these last like couple years. So they have a really strong foundation in like older music, just music from different genres, folk music, extreme experimental music, and just all the bands and musicians that we have shared shows with, and our musician friends. Like, so they're used to music being, they know a lot. They've sat at a lot of shows with, they've attended a lot of shows that are with great musicians, and know our musician friends. So they kind of have this like experience of music that's everything but mainstream pop.
Did they not? Did you guys not have TV in your house at all for them when they?
We had very limited TV. It was put in a different room. It wasn't in the main
And it
room.
just plays, DVDs and VHS tapes. It's not hooked up to
It's
anything.
not cable. It's
So
yeah.
it's
So and we would just it was very very deliberate with like just kind of holding off all the mainstream stuff until now they're of their own consensual age more and they can kind of decide what they're into. But I think their tastes have been so rooted in like I don't know in other music that I think a lot of pop music sits a little shallow for them, and
I mean,
they'll have
yeah. How do they respond to this stuff when they hear some, major pop song, out at school or whatever? I mean, or did they think, did they not like that? Are they just kind of find it boring or what? I mean, did they express that? Did they say?
mostly, but mostly they do, yeah. But they'll be, those catchy hip hop songs that they do in a dance number,
yeah.
and they'll have to rehearse it, and they get into the dance of
They
it.
recognize that it's something that's really good to dance to, and they'll get into it, and we'll hear them kind of singing around the house, the choruses, and um, yeah, so they'll
And so they never had they never thought your music was too weird or anything like that. They never said any. They always just always were on board with everything you guys were doing.
yes,
That's
they've
cool.
always have been. I know I feel like we're totally.
No, that's
It's kind
great.
of miraculous, like now they've loved the music. I think they just grew up. I think they had such a fun time, like being on the road with us, and we always, even before we had kids, we were doing stuff that like kids would enjoy. Like we've always been pretty darn wholesome with, going to botanic gardens and going to, uh, parks and libraries and fun cafes and um, puppet shows, and so once we had kids, we just kind of kept doing all of that, and I think they just felt like it was just such a good time. I mean, not don't get me wrong. I mean, there's definitely a whole lot of chaos of traveling with kids, and there's times when I was just like, I can't work in these conditions. Like, what am I doing to myself? All of this in one, thing. Um, but really, it's yeah. I think for their part of it, they've really cherished their time on the road, and it's something they can't imagine not having as a part of their life. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it on like for themselves, like not just coming along with us on tour, which
Mhm.
we'll probably always at least do like one annual kind of get together tour. But I'm already with just seeing how busy they are this year. Um, that it's getting progressively more busy with their other stuff. Uh, I'm already kind of preparing to like, okay, I shouldn't. No, I'm knowing there's not going to be a lot of time to rehearse a bunch of things and learn new material. So we're already like, I've always kept the concept of working with them very flexible. Like, well, it's here now, and if they want to do it, they're totally welcome to. But I don't cling to it. I don't, you know.
Um,
Yeah.
well, I think we should wrap up the kind of main show right now. That Faun Fables has a new album. It came out just a couple months ago, I think. Right? It's called Counterclockwise, and there's some really good songs on it. I've been listening to it on repeat, and and I don't know. You can just get it anywhere, right? I mean, what's your webs? Where's the best place for people to get the album or even check everything out that's Faun Fables related? Just faunfables.com. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Man,
You're breaking up right now, and I'll just have you repeat whatever you're saying right now, or I'll try to repeat it myself.
well, you can always go to the Drag City website.
Okay, the Drag City website.
Um, if you go to Drag City and Fawn, yeah, yeah, and you can search Fawn Fables in Drag City, and yeah,
I guess if people look for Faun Fables, oh, they're out. Okay. Well, maybe they'll join back. Look, I'll just say this. If you look for, oh, here they're coming back actually. Hi. So okay. So I was just saying, just look for Faun Fables. You'll find everything you need to find. You'll find the website, find them on Drag City. Go to the Drag City website. That's the record label. And yeah, I mean, look, and don't just check out Counterclockwise. Check out all the albums: Family Album, Mother Twilight, Transit Rider. This is, and your tour dates. They're all they're on Drag City's site
Drag City site, and we're on Instagram and Facebook, and our own like official page is a little undertended, and that needs a whole refresh. But sometimes I'll just send people to our Drag City website, like our page on the Drag City website, because it's very succinct. It has it has the dates, it has the videos, it has the album with sound samples, and there's all the streaming platforms you can go to. I think we're on like every streaming platform now. I think they do all that.
Well, look, if you're, they're touring all over the United States and in Europe. And if you have the opportunity, definitely check out Faun Fables. The chemistry is so great between you two, and your stage presence. These are true performers, true entertainers. I just have very fond memories seeing you at the Starry Plow and other places in the Bay Area, and just being so captivated by just the chemistry and the musicianship too. Just great musicians, and just really infectious songs too. And yeah, just the performance. It was just such great performance, and I loved seeing you in these intimate environments too, because it felt so. I don't know. It was a real just fun. It was always great seeing you guys, and so check them out at wherever you are. And we're gonna get into. We're gonna get into in the next segment is the extended version of the episode. Is kind of how, I don't know, I guess how you kind of write a song, and also, or how you produce one. And then we're going to listen to some tracks from the new album, Counterclockwise, and I think they're going to maybe do a little bit of commentary on that. And hopefully there's not as much, internet issue. I hope you're able to hear the tracks. I'm going to play them from my end, and hopefully it's not too choppy for you guys. But yeah, if you want to carry on with us, check out patreon.com/poundcast, POUNDCAST. And, we will, that's where you get the extended versions of the episodes. And also, if you want to watch the show on video, you can go to youtube.com/Brent Weinbach podcast. And I think that's it. But for this main part of the show, thanks so much for, coming on and talking about, I guess, really just kind of how Faun Fables kind of came together as a band, and all that. And
great talking with you, Brent.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks. And so anyway, oh yeah, of course. Yeah. We'll see you next week, and otherwise we'll see you in just a little bit in the extended version of the episode. My name is Brent Weinbach. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.